guys know, I have talked about pheromones for years and years, sometimes on deaf ears. They are one of the most extraordinary human inventions to make dogs and cats comfortable. And I am so excited to meet a man in France, actually in Provence, so we could all be a little bit jealous. He created a company called Signs, Dr. Patrick Pageat. Pageat. Oh my God. We just described it together and now I'm saying it wrong because in English it's spelled Pageat, but it's really Pageat, correct? Is that right, doctor?
Yes, it's correct. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
good. It's my pleasure. I was very excited to learn about your company because I worked for years, as people know who've listened to the show for years, with the company Siva, which had created, really, they hadn't created, I think they had the rights to use the pheromones that underlay Adaptil and Feliway. And then there's other companies in America that have come along, but I know that the technology, the idea of using pheromones for dog and cat wellness, mental wellness, emotional wellness was French. So I'm very grateful to meet a true French doctor who has a company that just does pheromones. Have you been a pioneer in pheromones? Did you jump on the bandwagon later? How long have you been a pheromone doctor?
It's a good question. I'm very happy that you asked this question because this is now 35 years that I work with pheromones, and you have given the name of my very first babies because I'm the author of the patent for Feliway and Adaptil, meaning that what Siva was selling was licensed by my company to them to prepare the products. But I invented Feliway has been my very first baby, not my first human baby because I have three children and some of them came before. But it's Feliway has been my first pheromone baby, the first from a line where we have the dog pheromone, which is in Adaptil, but also pheromones for horses, cattle, pigs, poultry, and more recently for salmons.
Wow.
Pheromones are my life.
I have to say, I am truly honored to meet you because I think it's very exciting. I didn't realize you were not the grandfather, but the father of pheromones. You actually, I knew that Siva, which was a French company, it still is a French pharmaceutical company. I believe they sold their rights to use it to some other giant international pharmaceutical company. I knew they didn't create it. And then there was another company in America that had Comfort Zone, and that had some sort of troubles over this issue of who could use what. But this is your patent. You created the idea. I'm sure you know the veterinary behaviorist Carlos Siracusa, who works at the University of Pennsylvania, Penn Vet. And he told me that when I first talked to him, he's a great cat lover and a big believer in your pheromones. And he said that I believe, did his doctorate or his thesis on Feliway he's Italian, so it would be probably right when you first invented it, because he's been around a while too. It's very exciting to meet somebody who had an idea that nobody had before, and you've given it to the world. You've sold it to the world, but also given it to the world. And that must feel really good to you.
Yeah, I have to say that it's a common wording to say that sometimes a dream comes true, and this is exactly that. Meaning, I'm both a vet and I have been the grandfather of the European College of Behavioral Medicine. I know Dr. Carlos Siracusa for so many years. He's a friend because he has been one of my first trainees coming to work with us, and for his PhD thesis, we have been having some experiment together. So I think that my first idea went from seeing so many cats first with the cats being mistreated because they were doing urine marks and people were very upset with that. And the idea was always very violent, in my opinion, because people were expecting from surgery. And I remember, because I'm old enough to have observed all those treatments, I remember some brain surgery against that, some urinary surgery, some different ways to approach it, not to speak about all the drugs to put the cats at a lower level of reactivity. And my first approach, and this is the way everything came, was to say, okay, cats are not crazy. Cats do not want to harass their owners. Why do they spray and what are they doing instead of spraying when they're not having this problem. And I observed that when they were spraying, they were less doing facial marking. And what I've done, it was a very stupid or very simple experiment. I put some fluorescein on the jaws, on the cheeks of the cats, to make that when they were rubbing their face, they were leaving the fluorescein on the furnitures and walls. And I was coming with some UV light to reveal where they were rubbing. And I discovered that they were using that to mark their ways to walk into the house, and that they were using that also when there was something new and not creating any kind of disturbance or aggression. And so I decided to create a system to make that they were going to give me the secretion by rubbing their face on some surgical compresses, taking that and analyzing what was on the compresses. And this is the way Feliway was born.
It's fantastic. It's so simple and so thoughtful because it was respecting the animal, knowing they were doing something that served a purpose for them. And I feel really excited that I have been talking and on this show with Carlos Siracusa for the whole 15 years of the show. And I remember him saying specifically that he did his thesis on Feliway. And now I'm meeting the man who was his mentor and his colleague now. That to me, it's very gratifying because when I first heard about pheromones, it made perfect sense to me. We all are we're a chemical laboratory, all of us, but some animals use that laboratory in different ways. So the fact that you in a laboratory could create that scent, then put it in a spray and put it in places that would make the cat feel content was really amazing. And then Adaptil was another amazing idea you had. I'm calling it Adaptil, but that isn't the name you had on your patent. I think what's important is to realize that since you had these ideas so long ago, we've all become much kinder and gentler towards our cats in particular and our dogs, not seeing them as misbehaving or acting out or doing anything spiteful, just trying to exist in a world that's not all that comfortable for them, particularly for cats who are pretty much our prisoners. If they're indoor cats, if you live somewhere in the countryside, maybe in Aix-en-Provence, you can let your kitties out, which is fine, but it doesn't change the fact that most of the time cats are living indoors and under a constraint. Talk about your company, talk about the dog pheromone, because as I understand, that comes from the odor of a mother's lactating period when the baby dog has these great feelings. He's with his brothers and sisters, he's sucking the milk, mom is licking him, it's all good. And then, yikes, he's out in the cold, hard world at 8 weeks old, trying to figure out human existence, which is very confusing. All of us think a puppy or a newly adopted dog should just walk into our house and figure it out. But I think what you've created makes it a beautiful passage, particularly with adopted dogs that have been in a shelter or been in another home. I've always said if you can put a collar on them or spray a bandana and put it around their neck, you're making their life so much better. Is your company Signs, Signs, so it's an American word? Do you now have your own products as opposed to licensing them to others?
Yeah, we have our own products and they are now available on the American market. People can buy it through their vets or going to Amazon and in a few days to Chewy. So the products came from something when you have been beginning to work on a phenomenon as a biologist, as a scientist. You first go to the first orientation, which is related to your job. In the time I discovered Feliway, and then when I discovered this family of maternal pheromones, I was very focused on making treatments for behavior disorders much more effective with less side effects. And especially making that the animals were learning thanks to the behavior modification program and not being a little bit stunned by the products. And so that was my first orientation. And I have to say, it's very important to identify your mistakes. And that was partially a mistake because we decided to use the pheromones in a human purpose, which was to fix some problems. But it was a mistake, because if you look at the brain and if you look at the physiology and behavior of all those animals, the chemical world takes a very big place. The renencephalon, which is a part of the brain which is connected with all this connection to smells and pheromones, is enormous in those species. And what do we do as humans? We have decided that we just tolerate the smells that are good odors for us, and we ignore everything else around. And we have deprivated our animals from something which is given a sense to the world. And this is what we have been working on with developing what science is nowadays. We have said, okay, we have been able to imitate the messages, that electricity creates some concerns. We have to heat the pheromone. It doesn't, the diffusion in the air is not optimal because it becomes lower in temperature and we lose some compounds on the way. It's not very convenient because you don't have always a plug that is available to plug.
Right.
The same with using alcohol, because when you use a spray in your car, even if it is said in the instructions for you that you have to spray 20 minutes before going into the car with your pet, when you have the children, the luggage, everything, the dog or the cat or the rabbit with you, and you want to go into your car, usually you have so many things to do that you forget to spray the product. And suddenly you discover that your dog is panting and is making some unpleasant noise. Your cat becomes crazy and is yawning. And you say, oh, I have to spray. And you spray, and suddenly you discovered or you remember that there is some alcohol and it's very unpleasant. So what we have done has been to imitate the way animals were releasing their pheromones, making that we have created and patented a new kind of diffuser which doesn't require any kind of electricity or heating. You can put it, it looks very much like some perfume diffusers, but it's much more sophisticated. And it makes also that we just release the pheromone and no vehicle. The vehicle is kept into some sticks. And so in the end of the month, you just throw the sticks in your waste box. You clean up the vase in which you have put the product, and you can reactivate. This is a way to make that the daily world of your dog, cat, or bunny will be with pheromones. And same thing for the sprays. They are water-based products. It's a mist. And the mist is very interesting because it's very small droplets of water inside which you have small droplets of pheromones. The water evaporates immediately, almost immediately, and you have the pheromone available. It doesn't stain, it doesn't make that anything is humid, and you are not disturbed or having a very unpleasant experience with the smell of alcohol. And we have also made that you can transform the location of the skin of your pet as a pheromone releasing gland. Instead of having a collar, we have made a water-based gel that you put on the neck of your dog, cat, or rabbit, and that will release for 5 to 7 days the pheromone as if it was a natural gland. No problem, you can make that your animals will always have the pheromone available as if everything was normal from an animal point of view. And this is what we have been willing to do. And in addition, because we know that going to the vet can be, even if we have developed and we are very happy to have this cooperation with Fear Free, because we all share the idea that animals must be comfortable when being with the vet. But anyway, they have had maybe some bad experience. And so we have created a product, which is also, all our products are named Secure Dog, Secure Cat, Secure Bunny. And we have, so Secure Dog Home or Secure Cat Bunny for the diffuser, Transport for the mist, Adventure for the cream on the neck. And we have the Gentle Touch, which is a pheromone put on the hands of the vet or of the groomer.
Wow.
And you present the pheromone to your animal, they come in touch with the hands, then you can begin to manipulate this animal. If you detect any tension, you come backward, the animal takes a new contact to detect the pheromone, and you can go on with your examination to have relaxed animals.
This is extraordinary because when you talk about the pheromone being encapsulated in these tiny drops of water, you're talking about 22nd century technology. The idea that you can put inside a drop of water the thing you want to deliver, and that the water disappears, and that thing you want to deliver, this magical ingredient, is there, unadulterated by chemicals, because of course you've chemically created it, but it's really an amazing idea. I imagine there's a lot of R&D that goes into that. Your original idea was the charming young veterinarian wanting to make life better for cats, but now you've become a pretty high-level scientist. It sounds like what you've created is both animal-centric, but also cutting-edge technology. So what happens to the more crude versions of your invention, the ones that are on the market? Does this basically supplant them? My doctor, my vet, because they're a fear-free clinic now, which is lovely, they have bandanas you can squirt Adaptil on it or Feliway on it and put this bandana around the dog or cat's neck, which my dogs don't particularly enjoy. And of course, you're saying it's alcohol-based, the spray. So now you're squirting it on the bandana, putting it directly on the dog, who's now taking in a lot of fumes of alcohol, which is probably not what was intended, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it will supplant because we have, apart from science, I think we are all convinced that liberal economy is the best system. Consumers will make their decisions. So I don't, my comments are not negative against what was existing because it would be also very strange from me being also the one who has invented the product. But I have to say that we have done a lot of research in science in cooperation with our research institute, IRCA, which is the initial inventor. But we have been, I will use a very famous American word, we have been just copycats because we have not invented anything. When you speak about the mist, animals who have invented the mist before us, when cats or big cats like tigers and lions are urine spraying, it's a mist and they put the pheromone in it. When we have been doing the diffuser with the sticks, we have just been copying a system which is used by many animals, but one which is very famous in the USA, which is a turkey. Male turkeys have a big gland on the sternum, which is named the bird, which is in fact modified feathers looking like hairs. And this system is a gland with the pheromone being
No.
along the hairs. And when they move the hairs, the air going between the hairs is diffusing the pheromone. This is exactly what we have imitated.
Wow. The American wild turkey showed you the way. I thought it was something like one of the fancy French perfumery brands where you put sticks into a container of marvelous smelling something, and then the whole room smells like that. So if we wanted to make an entire house dog or cat friendly, we would have the sticks with the diffuser in various rooms, especially if the rooms are bigger.
Yeah, it's very interesting to say that you are not obliged to have it everywhere. You need, if the house, depending on the surface of the house and the volume, because if you have different levels, it's important to have the pheromone on each level. But the animals will follow the gradient of concentration. So if there is a place where you have the pheromone and this place is normally accessible, your cat or your dog or your bunny will go in that direction especially when they need it, because they know when they feel uncomfortable, when there is something strange. And this is why our products are named secure, because they use those pheromones to feel secure and be capable to understand something which is unusual. You have some visitors, they don't know this person. Maybe those persons are arriving, carrying with them smells and pheromones from other animals. That's something which is unusual. I will be happy as an animal to find something which is telling me, no worry, you can cope with that because you know what you have to do. And this is what we do with the pheromone. The pheromone is there to give sense to the environment.
So
It's a
let's
part of the understanding.
So let's say you have a new person or a new animal entering your home, like you're adopting a new animal, that hand gel or spray, whatever the product is that you have vets put on their hands to make them very accessible and delightful to the animals, can we use that too? We people at home? Let's say you have a new, name it, I don't know, somebody, you get a foster child or you get a foster dog. Should you
It,
put it on your hands in the beginning?
let's say that it depends very much on the way this, for example, if we are speaking about visitors, the way this visitor is behaving.
Right.
And also it depends on the history of your dog, cat, bunny. If they are very well socialized, they just need to have the pheromone in the house with a diffuser, and it makes that there is a secure place and they can welcome someone unusual, providing that this person is not displaying a very strange behavior like shouting very much or like trying to touch before being invited by the animal. If you have, if your dog, your pet is not that much used with visitors, or if this animal has a difficult history with humans, then you can have supplements with, for example, adding the spray of the transport product, and you can spray it also on the hands and clothes of the new person, making that this person will be carrying a reassuring message. So that depends very much. For most between the pets, they will be more than confident with having just a diffuser. If there is something different, you can add some extra help, we can say. The gentle touch is very much developed as currently. Maybe it will move over time with depending on the need and the observation of the needs of the market. But currently it's very much tailored as a vet or groomer or professional products.
Groomer is a great idea. What about a dog at a dog show? There's smaller.
Yeah, of course.
I'm taking my young dog. I never had a show quality dog before, so I'm curious to put my toe in the water. I don't
Yeah,
intend to be the handler. I don't know how to trot in a straight line.
yeah.
I mean, I assume he'll figure out how, but that's a highly stressful, confusing situation. The dogs that are veterans are like, yeah, I know how to do this. I trot, I stand, no big deal. But it's a lot of input. It's a lot of sensory input. Would that be the time for the topical on the dog, on the back of the neck?
No, I think that what is interesting, you're right, it's a very extreme experience for dogs or cats to go to show. I think that at least it is making a lot of sense. If this is the very first time, we will recommend to use, depending on what people want, but the gel on the neck will be very convenient. It is currently just available for bunnies. It will come
For
in a
bunnies.
few
Coming for
months.
bunnies first?
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my God,
We
I have
have
to tell all my listeners on exotic pets. We have a
yeah.
huge bunch of bunny listeners on exotic
We
pets.
have the full line for bunnies. We have the full
My
line
God.
of products.
Oh my God. That's so great. Is
And
that because you developed it using rabbits?
yeah, we have to say that pet rabbits are nowadays they are the number three, and depending on in some countries, they can be the number two between the pets.
Wow.
And they are not from coming from their history and their biologies are not always very adapted to all the situation we human can create around them. So it's they are very happy to have this very securizing information around them. And this is why we have been willing to develop a full line for pet rabbits because we have observed, and as a vet, when I was in practice for behavioral problems, I have treated so many anxious rabbits, so many rabbits displaying behaviors that were putting them at high risk
Right.
because it's also disturbing their immune system, their digestive system, which is extremely
Right.
fragile. So
Right.
it's very important. And also many rabbits could die because their owners observe that it is so difficult to go to the vet that they are more afraid from the consultation than from the disease, which is a mistake, but this is
Of
very
course.
understandable. And with this approach, you can have this, even the trip in car with secure bunny transport, You can spray the trailer, you can spray the whole car, the vet can spray on the table and for the examination, everything comes much more easy and without stress.
That's fantastic. It's so great because so many people have this problem with cats, the same issue. People are not going to the vet with their cats once a year.
Sure,
They're not going to
sure.
the vet at all with older cats, all of whom have issues, whether it's in their mouth or in their various organs, that need mitigation by a vet. They need to be seen and they need to be checked out. But everyone worries about the horror of putting the cat in the carrier. And Carlos Siracusa and I, and my behavioral consultant on Cat Chat, we talk a lot about making the carrier more friendly, more easy, keep it in the living room, put treats in it. It doesn't change the fact that when you put the cat in and close it and you put it in the car, the cat's, yeah, this is different. I'm not an idiot. So having
Yeah.
these various sprays, the adventure spray, the travel spray, all of it is incredible. I'm so excited to learn about it. So I can go on Chewy just selfishly. I could go on Chewy right now and get the one for dogs.
I think I'm sorry because being not
No,
the
of course
commercial person,
not.
I know that in Chewy it should be today, tomorrow. It's arriving on Chewy.
Okay, any minute. Okay, so I definitely am going to get it. Both of my dogs are great car travelers. Things come up and I have the dog that won't let you touch his toenails. We had to fully, completely put him out to cut his toenails. I need this so badly to make toenail time not a catastrophe. I'm going to be not your first American customer. I'm sure you have a few others, but I'm very excited about it. I think this very natural way of making animals more comfortable in our world is a great tribute to 35 years of you looking at this from every direction. And we all thank you. And as far as the farm animals, how kind that you have also developed something to make being a farm animal less stressful. It's better for the farmer. It's better in general for health, but also just we all feel bad, or many of us feel bad when we're eating animals. And we think, "Oh, I can't think about what their life was like." But if they had pheromones, maybe it wasn't so terrible. So you're in the animal, in the farm market as well now.
Yeah, absolutely. For example, the American cattle now have the benefit of secure cattle, which is the copy of the maternal pheromone. You apply it, we have a special applying system. You put it on the top of the head or on the withers. 5 milliliters containing 1% of pheromone. You have biological and behavioral effects for 45 days.
Wow.
Uh, and the animals with very obvious improvement, like better production of antibodies after vaccination, better recovering after dehorning or after castration, but also you have the separation because in farms you're obliged to separate mother and calf sooner than it would be spontaneously, and it's
It's
terrible
horrible.
time with the
Horrible.
mother and the calf being
Screaming.
so stressed. With that, with this product, you can make it and they cope much quickly. They go in the direction to have interaction with their peers or with the other cows. It's also very interesting. We have proven effects on in pruniparous cows because they're also very stressed, being separated from the herd and without knowing, because naturally you have other experienced cows that will help in taking care of the calf, but the young mothers are alone.
Right.
And so we have an easier parturition with less placental retention, meaning less metritis, and a better delivery of milk from the beginning. So which make that you decrease the risk for mastitis. We have all that stuff has been published and peer-reviewed journals. We have that also for pigs with the maternal pheromones also for pigs
Wow.
and preventing the fights. Pigs are
Yes.
Cattle can fight, but pigs are very strong and rude fighters. And this is very interesting because they fight less. They cope with encountering new buddies who are not belonging to the same family, which is usually a problem with the pigs and especially with the piglets. And you have also all these effects on mothers, and especially when they come from being in group with other sows to being alone in maternity, which has been well documented as a stressful event. in presence of the pheromone, you don't have all those stereotyped behaviors and depression-like reactions. So that's making the life of the animals better because they have the capability to cope.
I think it's an incredible testament that you've gone well beyond companion animals. I think there's a lot more of those farm animals that need what you've created than us with our dogs and cats. I embrace it, but I'm really grateful to you on the behalf of all those farm animals because I'm sure the animal welfare advocates in Temple Grandin in particular, whose work was about making going into the slaughterhouse less stressful, you're making their whole life passage less stressful. And thank you for that. And thank you on behalf of all the animals you help. I'm going to get Secure Dog right away. And maybe I'll get some bunnies again because I'd love to have a product called Secure Bunny. It sounds like the name of a rock group. Dr. Pageat, this has been a complete pleasure. I really am genuinely honored to meet you. I think your life's work is brilliant. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. The pleasure was really shared, and I hope we will be capable to do more and more for the other animals. I have to tell you that we do on demand. We prepare pheromones for zoo animals, and we have treated lions, tigers, elephants.
Okay, you'll have to come back and we'll talk on exotic pets about all those creatures. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.